about gender and age. We researched the pay gap between men and women for the same job. As you can see, the Czech Republic is actually the worst country for the pay gap, with a 13% difference, while Denmark only has a 9% pay gap. But it's a huge issue in every country, and it's a key aspect of inequality between men and women. We think that the pay gap is partly because men are more likely to ask for bonuses and pay rises. It's also easier for a man to be taken more seriously in the workplace because of misconceptions about women's abilities and roles. So employers often think that a woman is not capable enough just because she is a woman.
Well, there you can see a percentage of unemployed women in each country. However, we couldn't find this number for France. And almost half of women in the Czech Republic are unemployed. And I think it's because of men who want them to care about the household and children. And about 44% of single mothers in the UK are unemployed, which might be because they have to look after their children and they can't afford childcare.
And maternity leave is also a popular issue across Europe. Denmark has arguably the best system for women. They have 18 weeks for the mother and 2 weeks for the father, and the rest of the year can be shared between the mother and the father with full pay. In France, fathers only have 2 weeks and mothers only have 16 weeks on their full salary.
Sure.
The UK wants to change the law so a father can take more paternity leave, but it will be unpaid. This means that more women will face pressure to stay at home, so it's not really tackling the problem.
And we also found another work-related statistic. The extra cost of hiring a woman is less than 1% of her monthly salary. And lots of employers think that it's more expensive to hire a woman. Actually, there's hardly any difference.
In France, it existed an association for help women. It was created by Fadia Rama, a French politician. Since she was 16, she has been fighting for the rights of women. It's an organization that helps women who have been violated. It all started when a 15-year-old girl was burned to death in a dustbin in 2002. So, ni pute ni soumise means neither horse nor slaves. A woman is treated like a whore because of her clothes, behavior, or just her gender. Some women are used as prostitutes when they come to France. This organization denounces violence and gives the women the right to express themselves. They get about 5 to 10 calls every day. It often sees that the women come from a poor environment, and ni pute ni soumise is financed by the government, the people, and the private or public industries. Ni pute ni soumise organizes a meeting called Université d'été, when women from around the world come together and talk about the violence in their country. They organize strikes and other actions against discrimination of women, and they help people who are in precarious situations. He has something called 100 sponsors for 100 women. It takes place in Paris, and the sponsors are employers and celebrities. It reintegrates the women into the work market and gives them training for finding an employer.
It started to be just in one neighborhood, one specific neighborhood, but now it's spread to all kinds of backgrounds. In ni pute ni soumise, the women are often insecure and vulnerable. Women without employment and women with children. These women are often dependent on their husband, and they often can't leave the house or apartment. There's a law that passed in July 2010 which forces the violent husband or partner to leave the house or apartment, and it's illegal for him to come near his wife for 4 months. And meanwhile, the woman can adjust the problems with the children and the divorce. In Czech Republic, the man should only go for 10 days. If a woman is an illegal immigrant, the law says that she can get immigration papers if her husband or boyfriend is violent to her. This law was made to help the women with problems like this, but instead it worked against them, because when they come down to the police station and says that her husband is violent, the police think that she's lying because she wants the paper. So we can conclude that Lige Pludselig Mise was created to integrate women who has problems with moral treatment in society, and it tries to make women and men more equal.
Yes, and the two organizations, Pôle Emploi and DAES, talk to us about the difficulties women have getting a job. One of the reasons is, as Alice mentioned, maternal leave, because well, employers think that it's very expensive for them to pay for someone who isn't working, so that's a problem for women if they're in the childbearing age. And also, when they want to come back to the job market, if they've been away from work, if they haven't been working for some years or just 1 year, they're out of training, and employers will be unwilling to hire them. So it's actually easier for a woman who is above 40 to get a job because she's unlikely to have a child. Yes, and the stereotypes, because we've heard a lot about men's jobs and women's jobs while we've been here, because there are more jobs in the industrial sector than in the service sector. And in France, you would typically only try to get a job in a factory or something if you were a man or as a truck driver, and in the service sector as a woman. And since there are more jobs in the industrial sector than in the service sector, there are many more unemployed women than men, and it takes about 6 months more for a woman to get a job than for a man.
Well, today in France there are about 50% of unemployed who are men, and so 60% are women. These rates show that employers prefer tech men, because that we told you before, than women. Moreover, we can see that there's a big difference between two genders. About the Real Association, people who can't... there are about 70% women, and so 30% are men. This difference is explained by the fact women ask for help more often than men. During this week, we've seen two kinds of trade unions. One is CGT, French Confédération Générale du Travail, so General Confederation of Work, and MEDEF, Mouvement d'Entreprise Française, Movement of French Factories. CGT is a salaries trade union, whereas MEDEF is a patronal trade union. CGT fight against inequalities between men and female. They look about discrimination at job interview, inequality about salaries, and so on. Sometimes they make a test. For example, if a woman suspects that she is being discriminated and getting a lower salary than she deserves, the CGT will test it by comparing her career with the careers of other people hired at the same time as her. About MEDEF, they look after the employees. If they made a discrimination, they will have to pay taxes for it. But it is difficult to
prove that a woman hasn't got a job because she is female.
We also looked at age, and we found that for France and England, there was 20% of people that were unemployed under the age of 25.
40% of unemployment are people aged 35 to 49 in France, and 14% of men and 16% of women are unemployed in France.
We also found that in France, England and the Czech Republic, people over the age of 40 were more likely to get a job because of having experience, and also by this time that they have had their children, which means they will not be needing maternity leave like other younger women.
Young people find it hard to get a job, however in Denmark it is not as hard. But in England, France and Czech it is because young people are not experienced.
We also found that women find it harder to get a job in industrial work, as women and men think that it is a more masculine job, which should be for men and not for women. We also looked at the retirement ages, and for France, for male and female, it is currently 60, however it will be rising to 62. We looked at England, and currently at the minute it is 60 for women and 65 for men. However, it is changing, so it will be the same and 66 for both.
For Czech, the retirement age is 65 for males and females. In Denmark, it is either 62, 65 and 67 for males and females. If you are retired at 67, you get more money than if you retire at 62.
We looked at the results of the questionnaires that each country did before they came here. And for France, 16 people out of 58 aged 16 to 18 work, and the reasoning was they find it hard to get a job because there is not time to work. For England, 32 people out of 50 found that a lot of people do work in England, as there is time to work and to gain experience.
Czech, 22 people out of 55 have a job aged 16 to 18. Young people find it hard to get a job because they do not have experience. And Denmark, 32 people out of 44 people have a job aged 16 to 18. People in Denmark do not find it too hard to get a job because they get paid lower wages and they have more time.